Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to do a spoiler-free review. So the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky ALBERTALLI. This book is going to be released tomorrow, April 11th, which is very, very exciting. I'm sure a lot of you already know about this release. It's been very, very hyped here on BookTube, but I have talked about it in multiple different places on the internet, and I feel like I just haven't done enough yet. I haven't talked enough about how much this book impressed me yet. So today, I'm going to give you a spoiler-free review of this book so that you can check it out, pick it up tomorrow, because I highly recommend that you pick it up. I think a lot of people are really gonna like it, and I'm excited for more people to read it so that I can talk about it with more people. But let's just jump in and talk, first of all, about the summary of this book, because you gotta know what's going on before I talk about all the good bits on the inside. So on the surface, this is a book about a girl named Molly and first love. But I would say there's a lot more to it than that. Molly Peskin-Suso has had 26 crushes but has never had an actual boyfriend. Her twin sister Cassie has never really pushed this on her, and then Cassie gets a girlfriend, and all of a sudden she is lovesick, and she just wants Molly to be happy too, so suddenly she's pushing her into situations where she has to interact with boys, and she really wants her to get a boyfriend. Molly is sort of uncomfortable with this for a few reasons, but one of the main ones is that she's worried how men will react to her being pushed at them because she's fat, and she just feels like she has to be more careful for that reason because there's this greater chance that men are going to turn her down because of it. Molly also has anxiety, so I think that is a thing that's really feeding into that worry. But as Cassie starts this push, then these two boys show up into Molly's life at the same time, and it kind of becomes a mix of maybe she should want to be with this person, but maybe this is a person that she likes, and she kind of has to work through all of that, and her relationship with her sister. There's a lot happening. So this is a YA contemporary, mainly romance, and I'm going to talk a lot more about characters and plot and writing and everything, but first, I want to talk about giving like a diversity rundown here. I've kind of done this in multiple other reviews, but I think it's like I have to talk about the amount of diversity that's in this book. So the main character, her entire family, and one of the love interests are all Jewish. Beyond that, like I said, the main character is fat and she has anxiety, which is actually something that she is on medication for. I never see people in YA on medication that's just normalized. Her sister Cassie is queer. I would venture to say lesbian, but I don't ever think that we get that identifier for her. The girl that Cassie starts dating is pansexual and Korean American. Cassie and Molly have two moms, two wonderful, wonderful involved moms, and one of those moms plus their little brother is black, and one of the moms is bisexual, which is brought up multiple times. There's lots of other like background queer and POC rep, but those are the big ones that I think you see throughout the story. It's all really, really good. The reason that I think I started to fall for this book was that it felt like a YA contemporary set in my world. This is the world that I see. This is the world I know, full of all of these different kinds of people. There was no skimping. There was no focus on one type of identity over another. It was just this really authentic and honest portrayal of how I feel the world we live in looks and is, and I appreciated that so much. Plus, it led to a conversation between a group of teenagers about how heteronormative the concept of virginity is, which was like this amazing conversation to take place in a YA book. I was like, oh, are we actually talking about how we center concepts of virginity all around heteronormativity and cis normativity? Like, another really wonderful thing is that Molly is incredibly relatable as a main character. As I was reading this, I kept reflecting back on myself at 17, and it felt so honest and such an accurate depiction of being a teenager and having this constant concern that people are ahead of you, people are checking off boxes before you have, and just this panic that everyone is growing up around you and doing the things in the order that they should be done and you're not getting there was just a really relatable feeling for me. She deals with anxiety and she brings up regularly taking her medication on multiple occasions, And while that is not something I personally identify with, there are so many people in my immediate family, in my immediate friend group, who have to think about taking medication on a regular basis, who have to think about how medication is going to interact with alcohol. It was so nice to see that, because it's a concern that Molly has. She has to think about the fact that she's on meds, which means she's going to react to different things differently. And it was really great to see that, because I don't feel like I often see normalized inclusion of characters in YA who have to take medication and are never demonized for that. She's never called out for the medication being in any way bad, which is good because medication isn't bad. So it was just really, really good there. I personally feel like Molly's body image throughout the book was handled incredibly well, and I really don't think that it was tied in any way to her needing to have the approval of a man. I don't think that her self-image was cured by a love interest, personally. I think there are a variety of things that really help her to start rationalizing herself in different ways and rationalizing her own thoughts in different ways that was really appreciated. And a little bit of it is this boost of confidence in that she has someone who's interested in her, but that's also tied to the fact that she's growing in confidence in herself because she's being more willing to put herself out there. Plus, I think she has experience with people viewing her differently, so I think sometimes she's putting that pressure on others and not herself. It's not necessarily a negative body image thing so much as a annoyance that other people in the world are like this. And I think a lot of that is tied back into her anxiety and how that is making everything feel a lot stronger. I just feel like there were a lot of different sources through which Molly was gaining confidence in herself and in her body. I don't know, I just personally feel like the body image stuff was done really well and hit a lot of different things that were all combining into this general feeling of Molly and who she was and how she was feeling about herself, and I really liked it. Okay, so I have to talk about the fact that the sister relationship was excellent. I rarely see sister relationships in YA or in books in general. I'm constantly looking for really good sister relationships because I am a big sister. And just to tell you how confident I was in this portrayal of a sisterly relationship, and I can tell you this because I know she doesn't watch my videos, I'm getting this book for my sister for her birthday. 100% buying it for her. So a bunch of this book is Molly feeling like she's growing away from Cassie, and she doesn't know how to handle that because it's her sister. They have always been together. They've always been a team, but they're growing and changing, and she's kind of acknowledging the fact that they can't live together for the rest of their lives. They can't be in this. There are going to be other people who come into the equation. And that was such a relatable thing, and I kept thinking about when I moved away to go to college, how that was so much a feeling that my sister and I had and that we dealt with and that I think that we're still trying to deal with. The family as a whole was so fabulous. The parents don't disappear into like YA magic absent parent land. Both of the moms are very present in their lives. They're constantly sitting down and having discussions with them, talking about their lives, their feelings, how they might be feeling about growing up. It was just nice to see a loving and involved family that was central to a romance plot. Like, Molly and whatever romance she has was never going to work without the inclusion and acceptance of her family, and that loving, deep, like, honest family relationship was fabulous to see. So, as far as the writing goes, this was so authentically teenager. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that as a person who is now 22, but, you know, I'm only a few years off. It felt how teenagers talk. It accurately reflected the number of times teenagers say like. All the characters are constantly texting, or they're on social media, or they're bringing up social media. Like, these teenagers were funny and awkward and occasionally just trying to stay above water. They were self-conscious and confused and overly confident somehow at the same time, and it was great. And I feel like that writing just captured this age group so well, and it made the story work even more because it never felt like Well, I mean, I'm enjoying the story, but this is definitely not how teenagers interact. It is, which is one of the things that I loved so much about Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, Becky Albertalli's first book, is that I felt like it captured how teenagers speak and interact. Oh, also, since I was talking about Simon a minute ago, I have to bring up the fact that this is a companion novel to Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. So, in Simon, there's a character named Abby. She's kind of like a new girl in town, and Molly and Cassie are her cousins. That means over the course of this book that we get a couple of inclusions of Abby. She's present a few times. There are small spoilers for Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda in this book because it does take place like 6 months after Simon ends. So there are mentions of some of the characters that end up paired off at the end of Simon, but you don't hear specific spoilers about Simon. Like, it's not like Simon shows up and immediately tells you who Blue is, but there are spoilers for which characters end up in which relationships. So as a warning, if you're planning on reading Simon, there are those small spoilers. But if you have read Simon and love it, he makes a small appearance, and it's great. The couple of small issues that I had with this book were both communication related. First of all, there was a lot of this that could have been fixed if Molly had just talked to someone in her life, and I know a lot of this is tied to her anxiety, and so that really affects her ability to communicate well and her fears that she's going to be completely shut down. But there were a couple of moments where things were really tense and everything was and Molly just wouldn't say anything. And if she had said like a couple of words, a lot of things could have been avoided. And I just feel like communication on the whole could have been improved, and that would have helped some of the more strained relationships. And the other thing is that there was this weird thing throughout this book where every now and then Molly would be having a very serious conversation, like she would be having a huge moment where she's discussing how she's feeling or love or her relationship with her sister, and it would just kind of stop. Like, a character would ask her a question and Molly would kind of go into this reflective state and go, how do I feel about that? What do I think about that? And then we would just never hear the end of the conversation, which I thought was weird because I couldn't visualize people getting in this really engaged, tense conversation and then just being like, well, now I've asked you a question for you to reflect on. I'm gonna walk away and we're not gonna continue this. So that was like just weird. But beyond that, I mean, this book was a joy. It made my heart happy, and I feel like this book got it. It got being a teenager, it got being a sister, it got being afraid and awkward and lonely. But at the same time, existing in a family and existing in the world we live in, it just got it. And I loved it for all of those reasons, and all the characters, and so many more things. It was really, really good. In the end, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend that you check it out. Like I said, it's coming out tomorrow, April 11th. Go and pick it up. I think that this is going to be one of my favorite contemporaries ever. I just adored this book. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. That is my review of The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I hope that you enjoyed. If you have read this book, please talk to me about it. Please talk to me about it. I want to hear other people's thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!